catastrophic loss of biodiversity both globally and locally. Thus, we must invest in strategic conservation to increase the pace of permanent conservation towards 30 by 30 targets. 30% of Vermont's total land area shall be conserved by 2030, and 50% of the state's total land area shall be conserved by 2050. Rural land is conserved when the government owns it, or an environmental organization owns it, or you own it, but can't do much of anything with it except pay taxes on it. The bill charges the Secretary of Natural Resources with working out the details, and the legislature will impose the needed regulations in 2024. At least there will be a legislative vote before rural landowners are conserved, which is more than the Climate Council can say for its disgraceful Public Utility Commission enforced clean heat standard. That measure passed the House 96-44. Simply put, it will make your fuel, oil, and gas bill constantly go up. The extra dollars you'll have to pay will end up in the pockets of the heat pump installers, weatherization contractors, and the army of bureaucrats required to track and police an unlimited flow of Public Utility Commission-created credits bestowed on politically favored businesses. No legislator will vote on putting this stealth tax into effect. More on this tomorrow. This is John McClory.
Got chronic joint pain? Not having success with steroids, but trying to avoid surgery? Well, thankfully, there's a better way, and it's now available here from the medical professionals at QC Kinetics. I'm talking about new therapies, advanced all-natural regenerative treatments that not only just give you relief, but can also restore and repair damaged tissue for long-lasting relief. If you've got joint pain due to arthritis, knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, don't just think the old ways of dealing with pain are the only ways. You need to learn more about these new biologic therapy solutions. Call now for a free consultation. QC Kinetics at 802-PAINLESS. These remarkable new treatments increase mobility, decrease pain, and help restore tissue. They actually encourage your body to heal itself. Call now and learn more about these restorative, regenerative, and revolutionary alternatives. Don't wait. Call today. QC Kinetics, 802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS.
Hi, everyone. This is Jess Langlois
and Chief Meteorologist Dan Dowling
from the Channel 3 Max Advantage Weather Team, reminding you that every day we are tracking the weather and getting you the most accurate forecast
from the most experienced weather team tonight from 4 to 7 and at 11 p.m.
We forecast with straight talk and no hype,
so you can take advantage of the clear days
and have the advantage over stormy weather.
There's a 100% chance of accurate, experienced, and trusted forecast
tonight and every night from the Channel 3 Max Advantage Weather Team.
First in weather.
Did you know that Chips Auto in Randolph carries Nokian tires?
No kidding.
No, Nokian. Creators of the first snow tire, and Chips Auto sells, mounts, and balances them.
No kidding.
No, Nokian. And Chips Auto in Randolph has an alignment machine to keep your Nokian tires going straight.
No kidding?
No, Nokian at Chips Auto. Full-service auto repair and tire services. Weston Street, Randolph. Online at chipsautoandtire.com.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
The Patriots are now closer to the bottom of the AFC than the top. That's a fact.
The stories that matter to you.
Trevor Story, man, he makes the Red Sox much, much better in 2022.
This is your home for New England sports.
I'm just wondering what happens next for UVM, because I think there could be a lot of turnover on that roster.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? It is the eve of Red Sox opening day. I am pumped. It's opening day around baseball for some of the teams. It's our opening day tomorrow. I cannot wait. This is the Brady Farkas Show on this Thursday on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. We have a full show, all 90 minutes, right up until 7 o'clock. Then it's Jazz with George Thomas. And then it's Eye on the World with John Batchelor. We've got plenty to get to. We are going with a completely guestless Thursday today. Buster Olney usually joins us on Thursday, but we negotiated it so that Buster's going to join us tomorrow, right after the opener between the Red Sox and the Yankees. So There you go. Buster, not today. Buster tomorrow, live at 5:45 after Sox Yankees. So I am excited to talk to Buster tomorrow. So no guest, a lot of participation by you. Welcome on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. That's 802-585-3026. We got some stuff, a lot of stuff on the Sox, some stuff on the Patriots I want to tie up, some loose ends on, and some good stuff on the NBA as the Celtics beat the Bulls last night and they get ready for Milwaukee today. Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line is always open. 802-585-3026. That's 802-585-3026. Your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
And the opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. So the report came out kind of right after we got off the air yesterday that not only had Rafael Devers turned down a contract extension from the Red Sox, but the Red Sox and Devers are, quote, far apart. Actually, quote, very far off in their negotiations. So Chris Cotillo of Mass Live, he added that detail that not only was there not going to be an extension now before opening day, there's not going to be an extension during the season, and the two sides are, quote, very far off. So that's certainly not what we want to hear. When you're talking about a potential contract extension with arguably your best player now at this point, that's not what you want to hear. We had heard there was mutual interest. We had heard they were close. We had heard there might be a deal soon, and then we get the gut punch that it's not going to happen, and maybe we were never as close as we thought, and now the two sides are far off. This is discouraging for sure. I'm just going to kind of rip off, though, a couple of quick thoughts about this before we move on to the season at hand. That's what the Devers camp is doing. That's what the Red Sox are doing. They are moving on to 2022. I kind of put the finishing touches here on my thoughts about this whole saga, and then I will do the same. Number one, we still don't know what the Red Sox offer was. That really dictates how you should feel about all this. That's really everything here. If the Red Sox tried to lowball Rafael Devers, a homegrown player who's not even in his prime yet, who's already accomplished so much, and who is at this point certainly your best hitter. He may not be your best player overall because of his defense and, the speed he doesn't have, but he's right there, right? Bogarts is probably all around better. Story might be all around better, but Devers is your best hitter. So if they try to lowball Rafael Devers, then you should be mad at the Red Sox. If the Red Sox offered Devers a fair deal and his camp spat in their face, then you should be mad at his camp. We still don't know which one it is, right? We don't know who deserves the blame here. So remember that. When you're upset, as I am, that Devers does not have a long-term extension yet, remember that we don't know what the number is, and the number tells us everything about who we should be seeing as the bad guy in all this. John Tomasi of NBC Sports Boston, he agrees with me.
One important thing I want to mention, we love to pile on the Red Sox for not stepping forward. If they made Devers a competitive offer, if they make him a $250 million offer, and he rejects it to go away, I don't know that we can call them the bad guy.
250 now for a first contract offer, for a first extension, that's not terrible. I still think it should be higher than that. So 250, I would say, is not an extreme low ball, but I think it's a low ball. I think that Rafael Devers is worth 275 or greater at this point. So 250, I think, would be a good first offer, and then his side counters with 350, and then we get to the table. I don't know how this went, but again, we don't know the offer. The Red Sox might be the bad guy, but we don't know yet. So reserve your Chaim Bloom hate for a later date because we just don't know how this all went down. Number two, another kind of quick thought on this whole thing. Devers and his entire camp do appear to be dead set on making as much money as possible. And that's okay. I don't begrudge Rafael Devers for that. Devers has done the team thing, okay? He's won a World Series. He has accomplished the team goal already. He's accomplished the ultimate team goal. I'm sure he'd like to win more, but as he gets closer to free agency, I don't mind him doing the selfish thing now. He's done the team thing. He's sacrificed for the team. He's done the minor league bus rides. He's won a World Series. Now as he gets towards free agency, I get him wanting to take care of him. That appears to be important to him, as evidenced by what he told Rob Bradford of WEEI recently. I'm just going to read this this quote. Devers says, "We all want to make a lot more money because of the performance and what we do for the team. That's something that may be hard at first, but you know what you're worth, and I know my worth. What it comes down to is I know the type of money I should be making, so that's what I'm focused on. I'm not focused on what other guys are making or what they're doing. I'm more focused on what I'm doing on the field and what I'm worth." So Rafael Devers, he does not want to hear comparisons. He does not want to hear what Manny Machado made. He doesn't want to be compared to what Jose Ramirez signed for. He doesn't want to hear about what Fernando Tatis Jr. signed for. He wants to be viewed as his own player, his own unique class of player, and he wants to be paid accordingly to that. Rafael Devers has all the leverage here. He has the Red Sox feet to the fire. This isn't a case of what was going on with Jose Ramirez in Cleveland. Jose Ramirez would have hit free agency at 31 years old. That's a tough age to hit free agency these days. So he's like, you know what? I'll sign the extension at 29. I'll take care of myself. Devers is going to hit free agency at 27 years old. 27 years old. He's going to hit free agency in his prime. By turning down the Red Sox offer, he's got to think he's headed for 10 for 330 or 12 for 360. He's got to think he's headed for a huge deal, and he's trusting himself to be able to get that kind of deal. And you know what? I think he's going to get that kind of deal. Rafael Devers is a star. Stars get paid massively, and they get paid massively when they're headed right into their prime. And think about this. You have to assume that Devers will always be able to hit, right? You may worry about his speed. You may worry about how his defense will translate. But you have to assume that he'll always be able to hit. So if he hits the market at 27, a 10 or 12-year deal is completely plausible. You could throw him at DH for the last 3 or 4 years if you really needed to. And the National League now has the designated hitter. So that's going to open up a whole new class of suitors for Rafael Devers. So he has all the leverage here. Now, I want to know what the number is that was offered by the Red Sox. I want to know who I'm mad at, as I just said. But no matter what the number was, I get why Devers is doing this. He's like, look, man, I'm already here. I'm 2 years away. I'm going to hit it at 27. I can set the market. Forget being compared to other people on the market. I can set the market. That's what Devers apparently wants, and that's important to him. Again, I wish as a fan that these guys were more about loyalty. I wish they were more about one team and one team legacy and connecting with a city. That's all great. That's all romantic. However, it's not always realistic. Rafael Devers has done the team thing. Now he wants to do the selfish thing. He wants to do the take care of me thing, the generational wealth thing. I can't knock him for that. You and I would be doing the exact same, would we not? I mean, wouldn't we? If your current employer, who you've worked at for 5 or 6 years, who you genuinely like, if you're making $60,000 at your current job, and somebody else comes in and offers you 95, well, guess what you're doing? 95% of you would take the 95 grand. So Devers wants the money. Can't knock him for it, but he does appear to be dead set on getting that money. Number 3, things we need to remember right now, things we need to realize right now. Rafael Devers does have 2 years left on his contract. 2 years, not 2 weeks. So we can all worry about it, and we can all speculate, and we can all bellyache about the future. But the reality is, enjoy the 2 years that you have this guy left on your roster, because there's a lot of time to get back to the negotiating table. Maybe it appears unlikely that they'll get him signed before he hits free agency, but there is time to go back to the negotiating table. And there's a lot of time left for Rafael Devers to play baseball for your Boston Red Sox. Just be in the moment. I'm always the first guy to think about the future, but just be in the moment. It's one of the best young players in baseball that we get to watch every single day, and the Red Sox have a chance to win the World Series with him. There's 2 years left. The Red Sox should be a World Series contender within these 2 years. It's a possibility. It's absolutely a reality. He's not leaving the Red Sox next week. 2 years left with his services, 2 years left to try to gain a championship and try to help the team gain another championship. Number 4, my final thought on this right now. I really don't think that any of this is going to affect Rafael Devers on the field. You always wonder how a contract situation will affect a player and how it will affect their psyche, but I don't think any of this is going to affect Devers. 6 home runs in spring training. He dealt with all the arbitration stuff already. He seems to be able to compartmentalize the business side and the playing side. I think he's going to be fine in that regard. And I think he's going to have an unbelievable year. I just feel so good about where Rafael Devers is at. I think he's that special. 40 homers, 40 doubles. It's a real possibility for him. 100 RBI is a possibility. 300 batting average is a possibility. He's going to be in the mix for the MVP by the end of the year. I cannot wait to watch him play. I cannot wait to watch Rafael Devers play. And we're going to see him do it tomorrow. 1:05 first pitch on this station, 12:05 pregame show. Devers and company in action. I don't know if you saw this. This came out just a little while ago. Xander Bogaerts says he also got a contract offer from the Red Sox, and he also turned it down. Now, I would love to know that number as well. Because, again, who are we mad at? Are we mad at the Red Sox, or are we mad at Bogaerts? And Bogaerts' agent, Scott Boras. I don't know yet because we don't know the number. But Bogaerts says, I'm not going to negotiate in season. So he is headed towards the offseason, and I'm sure he's going to opt out. Did the Red Sox lowball him, or is his camp being selfish? Don't know. Wish we knew. But the Red Sox right now are striking out on locking up their 2 biggest players. Now, Bogaerts does not have the leverage that Devers has, right? He's 3 years older. Actually, no, I'm sorry. He's 5 years older than Devers. So he doesn't have the leverage. He's going to hit the market again at a higher age. But Marcus Semien just got 7 for 175 at 32. Bogaerts is in that class for sure. All right, couple of text messages to get to here. Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury. Text line 802-585-3026. Joe says, happy opening day, Brady. Go Braves. What are your quick thoughts on the Braves this season? I haven't done a whole lot of Braves research. I'm not going to lie to you there. They are the defending champions. They do have a lot of good young pitching. I'm a big fan of Ian Anderson, who pitched at my high school. Max Fried is outstanding. They picked up Kenley Jansen in the bullpen for a bullpen that was already pretty good last year. When you look at Matzik and the other guys they got down there. So I like what the Braves did in the bullpen. Acuna is going to be back in May. Remember, they won the World Series without him, so I think they get even better. I love Ozzie Albies. I think that this team will be very good. I do think the division is strong. Not great, but strong. I think the Mets are better. I think Washington's awful. I think the Marlins are going to be really bad again. But, the Phillies should be much improved. So it's not going to be a cakewalk. They're not going to be able to loaf through the first 100 games like they did last year, first 120 games like they did last year and just turn it on. Like, you have to be able to be good right away. Peter in Williston says, Devers' situation sounds too familiar to the Mookie Betts situation. That's a good point. I was going to do that segment in the 6 o'clock hour. Is Devers, his situation, like Mookie? I'm going to tell you why. It might be that way, but I don't think it ends in the same way. I'll explain. That's next on WDEV.
Today on Hey Culligan, soft water, cleaner environment. What do you say, Greg?
Hey Culligan, are you saying if I have a Culligan high-efficiency water softener, I'm also helping the environment?
It sounds like you're saying it, Greg, and yes, you are, because with the Culligan high-efficiency water softener, you'll use less detergent, soap, and harsh chemicals, and that's good for the planet.
Now you're saying it.
You bet I am, Greg. Soft water and a cleaner environment is already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test from a local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents and Doug.
Check it out, Limu, a roadside carnival.
Step right up, folks. Test your strength. Come see the fire-breathing baby.
Let's fan out and tell people that Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Look, an emu wearing sunglasses.
Limu, you're famous. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Hi, everyone. This is Jess Langlois
and Chief Meteorologist Dan Dowling
from the Channel 3 Max Advantage Weather Team, reminding you that every day we are tracking the weather and getting you the most accurate forecast
from the most experienced weather team tonight from 4 to 7 and at 11 p.m.
We forecast with straight talk and no hype,
so you can take advantage of the clear days
and have the advantage over stormy weather.
There's a 100% chance of accurate, experienced, and trusted forecast
tonight and every night from the Channel 3 Max Advantage Weather Team.
First in weather.
Are you feeling troubled and anxious about the state of the world? Perhaps you're feeling helpless. Creating peace within yourself and intentionally sharing that peace with your family, your community, and the world is a powerful practice and a loving offering to the human family. Join meditation teacher and guide River Buffum on Wednesdays, March 23rd and April 13th at 8 p.m. over Zoom to collectively grow our own inner peace through meditation and prayer. This is a non-denominational guided meditation open to anyone seeking to internally grow and share peace during this troubling time. River will be leading the metta meditation with harpist Judy Byron, offering peace through her music. Visit the library's website for the link to the Zoom offering, www.waterrepubliclibrary.com.
The most amazing creation in human history is back. It has a one-lunger. It has a dial-up. It has a cash register. And it has Red Sox tickets. The Fairness to Fans machine, meticulously maintained by LaRue Brothers Transmissions in Barton, will be firing again soon. Send your entries to WDEV at radiovermont.com and put Fairness to Fans in the tagline. Details coming soon. Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Buster only usually joins us at this time on Thursdays. Buster is going to join us tomorrow live after the Red Sox-Yankees game. Interesting text, right? Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Peter in Williston says, the Devers situation sounds eerily familiar to the Mookie Betts situation. Peter, you're not the only one who thinks that. John Tomasi, again, of NBC Sports Boston, he feels it too.
I think it's running out. I said it in our show email today, I get a Mookie vibe from him. You know, I'm just feeling sort of like Devers is intent on getting to free agency. We saw Mookie Betts do that. We saw how that worked out for him. I mean, the Red Sox ended up trading him. It wouldn't shock me at all, Giles, if Devers is headed for a similar fate where the Red Sox realize we can't sign him and just...
Okay, so I disagree with that. So there's two things going on here, and this is my new favorite saying. Two things can be true at the same time. One, I do think that Rafael Devers can be giving off the Mookie Betts situation vibes. The vibes that he wants to hit free agency and that he's not going to sign an extension, and the vibe that he wants to get paid top dollar. That absolutely can be true. However, I don't think we're going to end up in the same spot as the Red Sox did with Betts, with Devers. I do not think that the Red Sox are going to trade Rafael Devers in the way they traded Mookie Betts. Now, they may lose him in free agency, but I do not believe we're going to end up with the exact same situation repeating itself with Devers as you had with Betts. And here's why. The organization is in a completely different spot right now. In 2020, when Mookie Betts was traded pre-pandemic, Alex Cora had been suspended for a year. Dave Dombrowski was gone. You were in the first year of a new regime. Chris Sale, we didn't know he needed Tommy John at the point that Mookie was traded, but we knew that he wasn't himself based on what had happened at the end of the 2019 season. You knew they probably knew internally that it wasn't particularly good for Sale. So the 2020 Red Sox didn't profile to be all that great on the field. Sale was going to be at best compromised. Cora was gone. And, Mookie, the Red Sox luxury tax-wise were up against it. I think it would have been like the third straight year. So financially, the Sox were not in a good situation. So you couple all that together, and it made sense to trade Mookie Betts, and the Red Sox were also devoid of talent in the farm system. Trading Mookie was the quickest way to start to replenish the farm system. So that's where the Red Sox were in 2020. In 2022 and 2023, the Red Sox are World Series contenders. If you want to win a World Series, then you likely hold on to Rafael Devers, because you're trying to do everything you can to win the World Series. Again, you may lose him in free agency, but I don't think you're trading him. Now, the Nationals, they held on to Bryce Harper. They didn't end up winning the World Series with Harper. They ended up winning it later. So if you want to go with that as the model, I guess it's possible to say, well, see, this is what holding on to a guy for too long can yield you. But I don't think the Red Sox are like that. They are in a much different situation now than they were in 2020 with Mookie. The team didn't look as good. Your manager had been suspended. You're under new management. You're devoid of prospect talent. So trading Mookie was the reason why was one of the benefits in terms of getting prospect talent back. And then 5, the financial situation was bad for the Red Sox at that point. Now the financial situation has been cleaned up. The prospects are better, so you're not forced to trading Devers just to get prospects. You're already restocking the farm system to the point where you're 11th in Baseball America at last check when we did the interview with Kyle Glazer there, like at the end of February. It's a different team. And this team and next year's team are expected and should be able to compete for a World Series. You do not just trade Rafael Devers under that situation. The only way I can see Devers getting traded is if the Red Sox are bad next season for the entirety of the first half of the year. Like if you get to the trade deadline and the Red Sox are awful, then you have a serious conversation about trading Devers. That's when you pull the trigger on that. But with 6 teams in the playoffs per league, I got to think the Red Sox are never going to be in a position where they are awful or where they are way out of it. I think they're always going to be in the conversation for the playoffs. And if you're in the conversation and you're looking to win a World Series, as should be your goal, well, then you keep Rafael Devers. So I get why the Mookie Betts vibes are there. It is similar in that regard. But it's different in that the Red Sox had to trade Mookie Betts. They don't have to trade Rafael Devers. The money situation's been cleaned up. There's more teams in the playoffs, so therefore your team has a greater chance at making the playoffs and winning the World Series. And you don't have to trade them to get prospects. You're already stockpiling prospects on your own. Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. You can always get in. You can also get in on our Facebook Live chat, YouTube Live, or on my Twitter account at WDEV Radio Brady. We get some messages saying, can't wait for the Red Sox tomorrow. God bless the Red Sox. Can't wait for the Red Sox as well. Mark Dendero of WEEI, a guy who we play some sound from every once in a while, he said the Red Sox cannot afford a bad start.
There is no guarantee they're going to be able to battle back. Obviously, they can. They battled out of things last year. They had the good start, the bad middle of the year, and then they turned it back on late. But if you dig a big hole, recently, as recent as 2019, they weren't able to get out of it. So don't sleep on these first few series and, they'll turn it around, they'll find their way, they'll be all right. No, you could dig a hole that ends up too big for you to climb out of. So these games early on against the Yankees on the road before you even get to Fenway Park are big, because in 2019, their season was lost before they ever got to Fenway.
You know, it's the old saying, you can't win a division in April, but you can certainly lose one. The Red Sox do need to get out to a good start. They do not necessarily need to be, 9 games over 500 by the time that April ends here. But you don't want to be 9 games under 500. Mark is right there. This division is too good, and there's too many good teams in the AL that you wouldn't be able to overcome that. Last year, again, they started out great, but you could overcome stuff last year because a lot of teams were down. This year, Texas is better. Seattle's better. Minnesota's better. Kansas City is better. Detroit is better. So there's going to be more and more teams that are kind of in that middle to above average group. You don't want to get stuck below average, because if you did, you're going to have far too many teams to try to leapfrog. Red Sox schedule, this is a tough April. You look at this now. They're going to take on the Yankees for 4 to start. We know how tough, for 3 to start, Friday through Sunday. So 3 to start with the Yankees, 3 in Detroit. Those are all tough games considering Detroit looks better. Now, I like that I'm going to see Detroit's 4 and 5 pitchers, in that series. So get the back end of their rotation, which is a lot younger and less accomplished. But offensively, Detroit appears to be a lot better. So, that's not an easy first 6 games. Then you get the Twins for 4 at home. Now, it's your first series, but the Twins added Carlos Correa. They added Sonny Gray, and they just got Chris Paddock in a deal from the Twins, or from the Padres. So, Twins look better. Then you got the Jays for 3, then Tampa for 3, then the Jays again for 4. You have a tough April with a lot of divisional opponents. With every team that you play in April, with the exception of Baltimore at the end, will be a team that is in contention for the playoffs. Detroit might not get there. Minnesota might not get there. But they're going to be in the conversation, and you don't want to be in a position where after April you're looking up at, 8 teams in the AL, because that will be hard to overcome. So I think Dundero's point is well taken, that you can't afford to start really slow. You could play 500 ball through April and end up okay. You can't be way under 500. So you have to get out. You can't sputter your wheels to start here. But again, we'll kick it all off tomorrow. The Sox and Yankees. Ralph over in New York says, go Yankees, baby. Definitely not, Ralph. I'm hoping the Sox win 11-2 tomorrow. And actually, I got Garrett Cole on a couple fantasy teams, so I hope the Sox get to the bullpen a lot. Just kidding. I hate fantasy guy. I just did what I hate. I hate the guy that does that. I got Cole on my fantasy team, so I want the Red Sox to win, but not that bad. No, I want the Red Sox to put it to Garrett Cole and every member of the Yankees. 12:05 with the pregame show tomorrow, 1:05 with the first pitch. National news update from CBS News, and then when we come back, I'll tell you what everybody's saying about the Patriots' acquisition of DeVante Parker. You know what? It's oddly similar to everything that I've been saying about it. I'll tell you what they're all saying. That's next on WDEV.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren. 96.5 W243 AT Berry. 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier. AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Dell Small Business.
I'm Matt Piper in New York. The Senate confirms the first black woman to the Supreme Court.
The vote was 53-47 as the Senate voted to make Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson the first black woman to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court. Vermont Democrat Pat Leahy.
She's the justice we need now for America today, for the generations to come.
But not for GOP Senate Leader Mitch McConnell or 46 other Senate Republicans.
I came to one of the most consequential decisions a president can make, a lifetime appointment to our highest court. The Biden administration let the radicals run the show.
But Republicans voting for confirmation were Collins, Murkowski, and Romney. Tom Foti, CBS News, Washington.
To the war in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the destruction by Russian forces in another city outside Kyiv is even more horrific than the recent images in Bucha. CBS's Pamela Falk says the United Nations suspended Russia from the Human Rights Council.
China voted along with Russia, and India abstained, but the measure passed. And after the vote, Russia angrily announced it was withdrawing from the council altogether.
We've just learned 4 Secret Service agents have been suspended. They are linked to 2 men accused of impersonating federal law enforcement officers. Those 2, with possible links to Iranian intelligence, allegedly gave gifts worth thousands of dollars to Secret Service personnel. Another day, another round of new COVID cases hitting the nation's capital. Correspondent Weijia Zhang.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has tested positive for COVID-19 just one day after attending an event at the elbow of President Biden, unmasked. Her spokesman said the 82-year-old is vaccinated and boosted and has no symptoms.
The White House says even though they attended an event together, Pelosi is not considered a close contact of the president, and that he did test negative on Wednesday night.
Tiger Woods is back at the Masters.
From the time he was introduced on the first hole to his final putt on the 18th hole, everything Tiger Woods did was closely watched. Under the circumstances, what Woods did was quite remarkable. 14 months after nearly losing his life, Woods completed the round at 1 under par. He showed no obvious signs of pain. Now comes the toughest part, recovering for a second day of golf. There is likely to be swelling and some pain after the round. Steve Futterman, CBS News at the Masters in Augusta.
Pink Floyd just releasing that new music to raise money for Ukraine. It is the group's newest music in nearly 30 years. The Dow gained 87. This is CBS News.
Dell Technologies advisors are here with the right Windows PC and tech solutions so you can stop at nothing for your customers. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
This is a metaphor for your business's journey. Sometimes it feels like you're going 100 miles an hour, barely keeping up. But to cruise through challenges, you need someone who's right there with you. That's what Dell Technologies advisors do. They have the Windows PCs and tech advice you need to get past whatever's in front of you and get where you want to go. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
If you have a small business, Staples has your sign.
Banners for my bakery?
Staples has your sign.
Oh, posters for my new pet store.
Floor decals for a pharmacy.
Every day, Staples associates help every kind of small business create bold signs to make big impressions. And now get $10 off custom signs, banners, and posters when you spend $50 or more. This is your sign, so print it big at Staples. Ends 5/28. Visit staplesconnect.com/thisisyoursign for details.
This one's for you, Betty White fans.
I'm not one to blow my own Vertugenfugen.
Even if she's not, an array of personal items from Betty White's homes in Brentwood and Carmel, California are going up for sale. They include awards, scripts, her original Golden Girls director's chair, a replica of her Hollywood Walk of Fame star, and 3 paintings by a gorilla named Coco. The most personal, a 14-karat gold watch gifted White on Christmas Day 1940 by her mother Tess. The items are valued at up to $2 million. The auction will be held at Julian's in September. White died last December, just days before her 100th birthday. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Grand Canyon officials say Margaret Oswald of Salt Lake City was along the Colorado River this week when she fell about 20 feet and died. 4 people, including her, have died this year alone within Grand Canyon National Park. Matt Piper, CBS News.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
And welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show here on this Thursday on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Reminder that the full show podcast will be available shortly after the show's conclusion. It's on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. I was looking at the podcast numbers recently, and I don't look at them often, I would say, but 414,000 total downloads of our show. So thank you so much for all of your support. I want to kind of run down the list of opinions on new Patriots wide receiver DeVante Parker and what it means for the team. So I got a lot of sound of a lot of people talking about DeVante Parker. I just want you to hear from voices around the league. Let's start with Mike Giardi of the NFL Network.
I texted a coach on the defensive side who's coached against him over the last several seasons. I said, well, what are the Patriots getting? And he said, well, he's not going to be the best receiver on the field on most Sundays, but when he's healthy, he's going to be the best Patriots receiver that they have on their roster right now.
That's pretty consistent with what we said all week, isn't it? The DeVante Parker acquisition is a good one. It makes the Patriots better. In my mind, he fully displaces N'Keal Harry. N'Keal Harry's time on this roster is done. But when Giardi says he won't ever be the best wide receiver on the field, that's something you should worry about. Just because Parker is an upgrade over what you had does not mean the work is done. The Patriots need something dynamic at the wide receiver position. They need something that scares opponents. And the Dolphins weren't even afraid of DeVante Parker enough to keep him out of their division. That should worry you as a Patriots fan. The Dolphins were willing to trade this guy in the division to their rivals, to a team that they're trying to unseat to get to the playoffs. DeVante Parker is good. The acquisition is good, but you are not done. So when Giardi tells you that the scouts are telling him he'll never be the best wide receiver on the field, or he'll rarely be the best wide receiver on the field, but he'll be the best on the Patriots, that's not like a great compliment to me. That's like saying, yeah, he or she's a 4, but they're the best looking of all the 4s. I'm not interested in being a 4. I want an 8. I want a 10. The Patriots need a 10. Like, you know, of all the people that don't look that great, they're probably the best looking of all of them. Not interested in that. I want a knockout. DeVante Parker is not a knockout. Find me a knockout if you're the Patriots. I want Mike Giardi to come in here by September and say, you know what? That guy that the Patriots have, he was the best receiver on the field that day. And he's the best receiver on the field most days. Because when Stephon Diggs takes the field in Buffalo, they'll say he's probably the best receiver on the field. When Tyreek Hill takes the field in Miami, he'll be the best receiver on the field. When Jamar Chase takes the field in Cincinnati, he'll be the best receiver on the field. Justin Jefferson in Minnesota. Devontae Adams in Vegas. These guys are stars. The Patriots have a bunch of role players. They have a bunch of good players, guys that can help, but they need an anchor. They need somebody that can just flat dominate, and they don't have it. And DeVante Parker, he's not it to me. He'll be a welcomed addition. He makes your room deeper, more physical. He does bring you speed. It is an upgrade over N'Keal Harry. But if you're telling me you're never going to have the best receiver on the field with him, then it's not good enough. You've got to find a game breaker. Now, Todd McShay of ESPN, draft analyst, he was talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, and he was saying specifically how they should try to replace Tyreek Hill. But listen to what he is saying about Jameson Williams of Alabama.
Jameson Williams is the closest thing to Tyreek Hill in this draft. And with the speed, not only vertically, but also after the catch, he will give you that big play element that they're going to miss without Tyreek Hill. So it makes sense to me. And if you sit there at 29, all the other receivers, Jameson Williams will be off the board. Jahan Dotson from Penn State will be gone. You've got teams like Green Bay, Tennessee in front of you that need wide receivers. I think Christian Watson from North Dakota State would probably be the best case scenario if you sit at 29.
Okay, so I'm not interested in the Chiefs' angle to this, but you hear what he said about Jameson Williams? That's the kind of guy the Patriots need. That's why I've been telling you the Patriots, in addition to getting Parker, they need to go after a wide receiver high up in the draft. They have pick number 21. You can do it in the first round there. You could do it in the second round, but you cannot wait beyond that. You need what Todd McShay just described. Game-breaking speed vertically, take the top off of defense. Game-breaking speed horizontally. Game-breaking speed after the catch. I need a guy who can take the 5-yard slant and turn it into 18. The guy who can take the 12-yard slant and turn it into 75. That's what the Patriots need. That's what the Patriots don't have. That's what really good teams around the league, that's what they have now. DeVante Parker is an upgrade, but he is not the end-all, be-all. You cannot ignore the position just because you got DeVante Parker. Let's continue with the assessments of Parker. Here's Greg Bedard at the Boston Sports Journal.
At the end of the day, are the Patriots a better team than they were before this trade? Yes. It gives them a viable weapon on the outside. I don't think he's overly dangerous or anything like that. He's at least a good possession receiver. He's basically what they drafted N'Keal Harry to be, which he was never that player. So I think he's a guy that Mac Jones will have a lot of confidence in.
Okay. That's pretty much exactly what we've said also. He's a good possession receiver. He's a guy Mac Jones will trust and have confidence in. He makes you better than you were a day ago. He's everything that N'Keal Harry hasn't been. That's all things that this show has said over the course of the week. I don't have it right now because I don't remember who said it, but somebody said that they like Parker too, but they worry about the injury. And that also is another agreement for us. It's a good move, but you are acquiring a player with an injury history. It's another reason why you just can't be done at the wide receiver position. Now, every single player in the NFL is at risk of injury. Every single one. You always need to be prepared with depth. But in Parker, you've brought in a player with a significant injury history who's played a full season one time in 7 years, has missed 9 games in the last 2 years alone. This is a player that makes you better, but it's not a player you can fully count on. Again, every player in the league is an injury risk. But there are some that are more injury prone or are more fragile than others, and DeVante Parker has been one of them, especially recently. That's another reason why you need a big-time investment at the position. A Band-Aid is good, but the big move still needs to be made. I mean, Stephon Diggs, look at the other teams that have made big moves. Stephon Diggs gets acquired, gets given a big extension. Tyreek Hill, same thing. CeeDee Lamb drafted in the first round. Justin Jefferson in the first round. Jalen Waddle in the first round. In this era of NFL football, teams are taking wide receivers, and they are taking them high up. The Patriots need to be one of those teams. If you are looking for a more favorable, a more glass half full view of the acquisition, here's former NFL defensive back Darius Butler on the Pat McAfee show on SiriusXM.
Haven't really lived up, I would say, to his expectations. Obviously, haven't had a great quarterback, O-line, offense, all those different type of things. And as a receiver, the most dependent position on the field. But if you're just looking at talent-wise, which obviously Belichick, looking at him and seeing him in the division twice a year, he's probably like, okay, I can do something with this guy. They gave up a high pick to get him, and they need kind of that guy that can go up and make those type of plays. I've been on the basketball court with this dude, and one of the best athletes I've seen.
Okay, that's a more glass half full view of DeVante Parker. He helps your overall athleticism, 100%. He will bring something to this team, something this team needs. He just isn't the finishing piece. If you told me that the New England Patriots this offseason, that they let go Gunnar Olszewski and N'Keal Harry from their offseason, or from their roster from last year, they get rid of Olszewski, they get rid of Harry. They bring in DeVante Parker and a first or second round wide receiver, I would be thrilled. I would change the tune on a lot of my offseason commentary if they did that. But until that happens, their offseason is incomplete at best and downright bad at worst. If DeVante Parker and unknown wide receiver from the draft replace Olszewski and Harry, then now I'm saying let's go, and now I'm feeling a lot better. But until that happens, it is just a meh to ugh style off season. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEV Radio. all right, we do it every single day. Let's get to who's saying what.
Whoa. What did he say?
Mac Jones? Good Lord. Mel Kiper's got to slow down on this. Mac Jones ain't going to work, folks. It's not going to work. He's got to come to terms with it. It's not going to work.
They really said that?
Every damn thing is politics and race, and I'm losing my mind over it.
It's time for Who's Saying What on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Got a couple of things for Who's Saying What today, and it's all brought to you by Vermont Laser Wash. That's Central Vermont's home of unlimited car washes. It begins at just $20 a month. So unlimited car wash is $20 for one free car wash. The listeners just need to text the word Vermont to the number 30 and then 400. Celtics beat the Bulls yesterday, and they rolled them. Bulls are playing without Lonzo Ball, and the Bulls really haven't been able to beat anybody good for a while now. So the Bulls are, I told you, they're the team I want the Celtics to see most in the first round of the playoffs. But C's are going to take on the Bucks today, and they're going to play that game without Jason Tatum, without Al Horford. I had a fun time talking with Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio yesterday, and we talked about the burgeoning talent overall in the Eastern Conference.
Brooklyn with Kevin Durant, they have a realistic shot. There's no doubt about that. Toronto is not going to be easy for anybody to play. Pascal Siakam has been tremendous in the last month and a half of the season. Nick Nurse is a terrific game manager when it comes to knowing exactly how to dial up plays from that standpoint. So I'm with you. The gap is still there. I think the Western Conference is a little bit better than the Eastern Conference, but the gap used to be a lot wider. And I think it's because there's been better basketball in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, the Eastern Conference, it's one of the most pleasant developments in sports over the last couple of years is how much better the Eastern Conference has gotten in the NBA. And I think there's a correlation, right? LeBron James left the East, and he had dominated the East when he was with Miami, and then when he was with Cleveland, he was dominating the East. I think even though the West overall was better, I do think that not everybody wanted to come to the East and challenge LeBron. LeBron goes west, and now there's other talent coming east. I think that's part of it. The other thing we have to give credit for is the overall drafting and developing of teams in the Eastern Conference. It's not just free agents coming east because LeBron isn't there. It really is amazing how much the East has grown. So you got the Celtics, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. They are drafted and developed players. Give credit to the front office. You look at Miami, when you talk about like a Tyler Hero, I know Jimmy Butler, he came over, he's an import, so he's part, he is part of the group that came in, but Miami's team has done a lot with player development. The Bucks, Chris Middleton, Giannis, they got Giannis to stay in Milwaukee, credit to them. They made a big move going for Drew Holiday. So, but again, Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen, like they found some of these other guys off the street from other organizations. There's just some good drafting and developing going on in the East. You look at in Philly, Joel Embiid. Now you go and you throw in James Harden in a trade. Toronto's always been good at drafting and player development, from Kyle Lowry, who was there for a long time, and then Siakam, to Freddie's point, they had the 1 year with Kawhi Leonard where they win it, Marc Gasol. So they went outside the family for a bit, but they were able to get a lot of people in. And Fred VanVleet, Lonzo Ball, who the Bulls have brought in, and DeMar DeRozan, who they've brought in. And I just think the Cleveland's, with all of its young talent, when you look at like Colin Sexton and Garland and all these guys there, and the kid they got from USC out of the draft this year, whose name escapes me at the moment. Brooklyn, we know about what they've done. Trae Young and Kevin Huerter and John Collins. Oh, Mobley's the kid for Cleveland. But Atlanta has done well in the draft. And Charlotte, even with LaMelo Ball, is excellent. And Bridges is very good. And then Hayward they bring in, and Rozier they bring in, and they've hit. I just think the Eastern Conference has gotten so much better. Yeah, the teams in the West, there's probably more teams that are great in the West when you look at Memphis and Golden State and Phoenix, and Utah is very good. There's Dallas. But it is not the wide gap that it used to be. For a while, it was LeBron, Wade, Bosh, and that's it. That was it. Everybody was out west. Steph was out west, and Durant was out west, and Clay and Draymond Green was out west, and Russell Westbrook was out west, and Chris Paul was out west. And while some of those guys are still out west, a lot of them have come east now. I just think the Eastern Conference is so much better and is so much more fun to watch now that for a while, Eastern Conference basketball was unwatchable. We talk about, real kind of on a side note here, we talk about the LeBron effect, right? Guys maybe be more willing to come east because LeBron's not here. Well, the Lakers, we know this now, have missed the playoffs, and LeBron was hurt for a bit, and Anthony Davis was hurt for a while, and things didn't click with Russell Westbrook. Jackie McMullen asked a really interesting question the other day. Jackie McMullen, longtime Boston Globe and ESPN. She asked a really interesting question about LeBron.
Doesn't he want to catch Michael? I don't know what's most important to him now. What's more important to him now? Trying to catch Michael or making sure he controls his own destiny so he can play with his son? Like, which is more important now?
That's a really good question. At this point in his career, what is most important to LeBron? Catching Michael, winning championships, or playing with his son? I have thought that it's playing with his son. I think everything is going to center around that. LeBron has one more year left on his deal in LA. His son cannot come out, I believe, at the earliest until after next year. So he can totally time up his free agency with his son coming out of the draft. I think his number one thing is trying to control his contract length and his finances so that he can play with his son. That's number one. But while he's here in this 1 year intermediary period, I do think he wants to win a championship. I don't know if catching Michael is the most important thing to him anymore. I do think LeBron wants respect, and while we've all given it to him, he knows he's never going to be revered like Michael. So, well, maybe he's not out to just catch Michael in terms of number of championships. He's trying to get as close to him on the respect meter as possible. So winning another title would certainly help him get there. So I think playing with his son is the most important thing, but he certainly don't want to spend next year waiting for his son to get here being on an awful team again. So I think it's a little bit of both, but I think his son is mostly driving this. I just think the whole thing with his son is so fascinating because I'd love to know how his son feels about this. LeBron's everything is playing with his son. Does his son, Bronny, view it the same way? Does he want to play with his dad? Does he want to play in the shadow of his dad? Does he want to be potentially taken by a team solely so they can get to his dad and they're really not that interested in him? Does he want or need to go to college for multiple years, but isn't able to because he wants to fulfill this dream, even if it's not the right move? And does his career get impacted? Does he not view it the same way as dad? I think this whole thing is fascinating. On one hand, playing with my dad might be the biggest honor of my life. On the other hand, maybe I should have gone to college. Maybe I'm not ready for the NBA. I think there's a lot going on there. And then, did you see LeBron tick off everybody yesterday when he said he'd like to play with Steph Curry? I have no interest in seeing LeBron play with Steph Curry. I would really look down upon that from a fan's perspective. If LeBron played with Steph, I would not be okay with that. I mean, I can't, when guys leave and they go places and build something, I'm okay with that. LeBron going to LA and building something in LA, that is okay with me. When you are the focal point, when you are the best player, when you are a player of LeBron's status, when you go, set an anchor, and then get people to come to you and you build something kind of from the ground up, I can have respect for that. Tom Brady did that in Tampa. What I don't want you to become when you're a player of LeBron's caliber is just a ring-chasing jumper. I am not interested in that. LeBron wants to go to ready-made championship teams. That is not okay to me. If you're the focal point, you should be the guy who is able to get others to come play with you. LeBron has always been that guy. Tom Brady's always been that guy. I don't want to just see him go to ready-made championships. All right. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. John Tomasi of NBC Sports Boston had a bunch of keys to the Red Sox season. I'm going to go through them and tell you if I agree or disagree as we get ready for the opener. That's tomorrow. That's coming up with the openers tomorrow. My thoughts on Tomasi's comments are coming up next here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV.
There's nothing like hearing the songs you love on local radio with no subscriptions and no monthly fees. But there's a new bill in Congress that could stop the music. If passed, this bill would tax your local radio station simply to play the music you love. Text LOCAL to 52886 and ask Congress to support local radio stations. Help us keep you connected to the music, local news, weather, and traffic that you need each day. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Rise and shine with WTEV Sunday mornings. Begin the day at 6 with Joel Nasman and 2 hours of classical music, followed by the Takeout with Major Garrett. A casual discussion of politics, policy, and pop culture. Then it's Jane Pauley and CBS Sunday Morning with stories about the arts, music, nature, and entertainment. The morning concludes with Sunday Morning Swing Time, an hour of swing tunes. Join us Sunday mornings on WDEV AM and FM and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
The World Newspaper's Shop Local is in full swing. Shopping local is more than a good idea. It's good for the whole community. Each week, the World will feature one of these local businesses so you can get to know them better. In Barrie, Mattress Land, Tucker's Machines, Barrie Tile, and Richard J. Wabi Jeweler. In East Barrie, Vermont Flannel. In East Montpelier, Bragg Farm and Delaire's Carpet and Flooring. And in Montpelier, Agway Farm and Garden. Support your local businesses. Shop local.
Are you tired of living with chronic pain, knee pain, joint pain? Listen carefully, because now there are new treatments available, not talking surgery or steroids. These are regenerative treatments from the medical professionals at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the leader in these exciting biologic therapies that help restore and repair damaged tissue in your joints with lasting results. If you've got pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back, joint pain that won't go away, you need to check out these new treatments with astonishing patient satisfaction reports. They can actually help your body restore and repair itself with no downtime, no drugs, and no surgery. Call now to schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics. Call 802-PAINLESS. You need to learn more about how biologic therapies are changing the way we think about dealing with joint pain. It's exciting stuff. Don't wait. Call today. QC Kinetics, 802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS.
WDEV, Vermont's news station, is your source for up-to-the-minute news at the top and bottom of the hour.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
Special events.
My fellow Vermonters, good evening. I'm honored to speak with you tonight, to have earned your trust through challenging times, and to serve as governor of the state I love.
And breaking news.
Good afternoon, Lee Cattell in the Radio Vermont newsroom.
Vermont's news station, WDEV AM and FM, and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Yeah.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV. Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line says, isn't the real question, is LeBron's son even an NBA prospect at this point, as you suggested? I do think that he's an NBA prospect. Like, he's going to be an NBA caliber player. The question to me is what's the timeline on that? Because from a father's perspective, your number one, and I'm not a father, so someone can correct me if I'm wrong out there in the text line. I would think from a father's perspective, your number one goal is to do what's best for your kid. And when you are a parent, your selfishness needs to kind of go out the window, right? Like, this makes sense to me, at least from the outside. LeBron wanting to play with his kid at all costs, that is a selfish thought. Now, his son may share that, but LeBron wanting to play with his son at all costs is definitely a selfish thought. That is something that means a lot to him. So I wonder, does it mean a lot to his kid as well? And then secondarily, I wonder, kind of to the texter's point, Is his son ready to come out 1 year removed from high school? Does he need multiple years of college? He will be an NBA player. He will be an NBA prospect. But will he be better served getting 3 years in college, 2 years in college, all 4 years in college? Will that make him better? Or does LeBron, selfishly say, you know what, don't go to college. Just come play with me. We can do this thing together, and I can coach you up better than you would get in college. I would love to know the answer to that. How does his kid feel? And is his kid better served going to college? But will he forego that because of LeBron's desire to complete this goal? I don't know. It's going to be something, trust me, the talking heads are going to be talking about this nonstop all off season. You already know that. All right. Let's go back to the Red Sox and John Tomasi of NBC Sports Boston. He was all over TV yesterday. We got a bunch of sound from him. Red Sox, Yankees tomorrow, 1:05 with the first pitch. John Tomasi was just kind of listing a bunch of keys to the Red Sox season. I want to react to a lot of what he had to say here.
Here's what needs to happen in 2022. Number one, there can be no hangover. The 2014 Red Sox are a perfect example of what happens when veteran overachievers feel good about themselves. They crater. The difference is that team won the World Series. This one didn't. Hopefully that's enough to keep those fires burning.
Yeah, I'm not worried about any kind of hangover from last year. Not at all. I don't think that this Red Sox team is built that way. I just think last year motivated this team. I think they proved to themselves that they were good. I think they proved to all of us that they were good. I think they're going to come out motivated and hungry. I don't think they're going to sit back on what they did last year. They didn't, to Tomasi's point. They didn't win the World Series. They didn't even get there. So there really is no room at all for a hangover. To me, they're just a bunch of guys that got a taste of success and who want to get back to that point. So I'm not worried at all about this team having a hangover. I can't promise you that they're going to get back to where they were a year ago, but if they don't, it's not going to be because they were fat and happy thinking they were better than they were. It'll just be because the other teams around them are flat out better than them. And that might be the case. The Red Sox might not get to the ALCS. They might not even win the division. They might not even get to the playoffs. But if they don't do those things, it's going to be because the AL got so much better around them. Having a hangover won't be any part of it. There's proper veteran leadership on this team. Bogarts, Barnes, Sale, Eovaldi, Jackie Bradley, Christian Vasquez, Kike Hernandez. They're going to be fine in the motivation department. So I'm not worried about that at all. What else did Tomasi have to say as a key for this team?
Number two, someone needs to step up in the rotation. It sounds obvious, but it's true. When Nick Pivetta is your number two starter, even after last year's standout performance in the playoffs, that is not ideal. Whether it's Michael Walker, Rich Hill, maybe Garrett Whitlock, someone has to exceed expectations behind Nathan Eovaldi, at least until or if Chris Sale gets back.
Completely agree. The entire pitching staff is my big concern on this team. And I don't think this is rocket science. When you look at the three big things that make up a baseball team, offense, defense, and pitching is a thing by far that I'm most concerned about. You cannot count on Chris Sale. Tomasi is right. Anything he gives you, if anything, is a bonus. James Paxton is a total wild card. He's now over 30 years old. He's coming off multiple years of injury, had Tommy John surgery last year. Have no idea what he's going to be able to give you this year. So Sale's a wild card. Paxton is a wild card. Rich Hill is 42 years old. And while he's a nice guy, and while he's got a fun curveball, and while he's had a lot of success at the back end of his career, and I admire that and respect that, he's not a guy that I necessarily trust going into a season to play a huge role. Michael Wacha on the other side of 30. He's had some good moments. He has some good stuff. He got hammered his last time out in spring training, and he wasn't a guy the Rays trusted last year to anchor their rotation for a playoff team as well. I mean, all these question marks you could strike gold on. That is within the realm of possibility. But it's also possible that Hill and Waka, they go the way of Martin Perez and Garrett Richards from last year, guys that you ended up not being able to trust and guys that got booted from the rotation. The rotation is full of question marks. The bullpen is full of question marks. I mean, how much can we really count on Tanner Houck? Great stuff. Deceptive delivery. Awesome slider. Can he get through 5 innings yet this year? Can he go a third time through the order like he couldn't last year? What about Whitlock? There is full of questions. Bullpen. What is the state of Matt Barnes? After the second half collapse last year, where is Matt Barnes at? Do they use him in the closer's role? If they're up 4-3 on the Yankees tomorrow in the bottom of the ninth, and Judge and Stanton and LeMahieu are coming up, is Matt Barnes the guy that you go to? I don't even know that answer yet. And if we see Matt Barnes out there, how does he look? And if Whitlock is not going to be the closer, then what exactly do we get from him in the bullpen this year? The new guys, Jake Diekman had a terrible spring. Matt Strahm, Hirokazu Sawamura, how is he in year 2? Sawamura was so quiet this spring, I nearly forgot he was on the team. I was talking about the bullpen a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, I'm forgetting somebody. Couldn't think about who it was. It came to me like 3 days later it was Sawamura. There are questions on this staff. The Red Sox can be good, just like they were good last year. But some of these questions are going to have to get answered, and they're going to have to get answered positively. I think you need Houck to step up in the rotation, and I think you're gonna need Barnes to be really good in this bullpen, because they cannot afford, if they're not going to use Whitlock as the closer, they cannot afford Barnes to give them bupkis. I think Barnes is a huge part of this. I will also say that I think Tomasi is undervaluing Nick Pivetta to a degree. I am, like, Nick Pivetta is right atop my list in terms of guys that I want to watch this year. I understand. Yeah, sure. You can wish he was your number 3 and not your number 2, but I love what I saw in the playoffs last year out of Nick Pivetta. I'm ready to ride the wave this year. He strikes people out. He throws hard. He's got a good curveball. He shows good emotion. I think he's fiery. I think he's a leader out there as he gets more and more established in this clubhouse. I think his leadership skills will continue to come out. If he can limit the walks, that's a big if. I think he could be a huge part of this rotation. Tomasi sounds not that enthused by Pivetta. I'm actually very high on Pivetta going into this year. Text comes in, says, what about AAA? Is there anybody there for pitching? Well, that leads into Tomasi's next point about the farm system.
3, the farm must rise, whether it's hulking prospect Tristan Cassis making an impact at first base, a reliever like Brian Bello, the team's top pitching prospect, bolstering the bullpen, or my personal bet, speedy outfielder Jarren Duran, don't give up on him, should arrive from Worcester.
You know, the thing about the Red Sox prospects is, except for Cassis, I don't think there's any standalone prospect that you're like super pumped about. There's no stud prospect behind Cassis, but for the first time in several years, there are some answers in this farm system. There is some relief there. There's the guys that Tomasi mentioned who can contribute. You don't have to go down to the farm and now find Ryan Weber. You don't have to just trade for everyone to fill holes. You have some answers and some stopgap guys already in-house that are better than the stopgap guys you've had before. On the prospect front, continuing on real quick, you do have this with Cassis, but I really look forward to seeing what Chaim Bloom can do to continue building up the farm system, because I would love for the Red Sox to have some of the excitement that some of these other teams around baseball have. There's nothing quite like it when you have a homegrown prospect on the verge of coming up and on the verge of being a star. And the Red Sox have seen that. They've had that with Devers and Betts and with Bogarts. They have had it. It's definitely happened. But it's been a few years. And you look around baseball now and you look at Julio Rodriguez and Spencer Torkelson and Bobby Witt Jr. with the Royals. Like, some of the top prospects in baseball and their organizations are flush with excitement right now about it. I can't wait to see Chaim Bloom get to the Red Sox to that point where they have a guy like that. Cassis, he's close. Marcelo Meyer down the line, he's going to really be that guy. Chaim Bloom's goal is to develop a pipeline where you're getting guys like that everybody can rally around. So the farm system is stocked better than it's ever been with Chaim Bloom here now entering year 3. Certainly there are more answers there than there have been in the past. But now I'm looking for the next thing where there's some real star power there. Cassis is close. See about how quick it takes to get some other guys into that fold. So 802-585-3026 on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Text from Mike in Williston, who says, outside of Pavetta, who are you most excited to watch this year? I really want to see what Bobby Dahlbeck does. I think that Bobby Dahlbeck could have a really big year. I don't know if he'll hit for average. He's always going to strike out a lot. That's pretty apparent. But if he could hit 250, then I think he could hit 30 to 35 homers this year and bring in 90 to 100 runs. He's got that kind of power. I mean, look at what he did last year. He had just over 400 at-bats last year. A true starter who's healthy gets 600-plus at-bats in a season. Dahlbeck had 400-plus at-bats, had 25 homers, and brought in 78. If he gets 200 more at-bats, can he hit 5 more homers and bring in 10 more? I mean, that would be 30 homers and 90 RBIs. A full season where he's the full-time first baseman, he's healthy, he gets those 600 at-bats, and he doesn't have the trade talk and the Kyle Schwarber acquisition in his head. I think Bobby Dahlbeck could have a very, very good year. He's going to hit probably 7th. He's going to hit, down at the bottom of the order. He's going to get a chance to clean up a lot of stuff. I think he's going to Pavetta's my guy on the staff, and Dahlbeck is my position player that I really want to see. I know Devers is good. I know Bogarts is good. I think they need to get big stuff from J.D. Martinez. I want to see what Story does. But if you're asking me an under-the-radar guy, Bobby Dahlbeck is that. 30 home runs, 90 to 100 RBIs. If he gets those 600 at-bats, he can absolutely have that kind of output for this offense. And if he does, you're talking about a really long lineup that's going to score a lot of runs. Because where are the holes in this lineup? Jackie Bradley and Christian Vasquez. Those are the holes. If Dahlbeck is not a hole, you've got 7 really competent to great offensive players. Kike Hernandez is not an average guy, but he can swipe a bag. He can run the bases well. He can hit some homers. He can play with energy. So I like him. But then you go Devers, Bogarts, Martinez, Story, Dahlbeck, Verdugo. That is a very good offense. Vasquez and Bradley are the only places where where there's a hole in the lineup. Dahlbeck, I just feel good about where he's at. Feel good about where Dahlbeck is heading into this season. Nancy over in Essex Junction. Brady, how do you feel about the Sox as a whole heading into this season? Well, that's the money question, I guess, right? I think that the Red Sox are good. They have concerns, pitching staff, as I just said. You wonder about their overall depth. I mean, Jonathan Arauz is on this opening day roster, and Christian Arroyo is your super utility guy. I like Arroyo a lot, but I don't know how I feel about him playing consistently in the outfield if it came to that. I think every team in the division has concerns, although I think the division is the best in baseball. I would say my gut tells me the Red Sox are the 3rd best team in the division. I think Toronto's first. I think the Rays are second. I actually think that the Yankees right now are last. I actually think that the Yankees right now are last. Last of those 4. Baltimore's last overall. Of the 4 teams that are predicted to compete, I think the Yankees are dead last out of those 4. But Baltimore is certainly last in the division. I hope I'm wrong. I certainly could be wrong. Fangraphs ran their simulations, and they had the Red Sox tied with every one of those teams at 88 and 74. So they can't really delineate from who's better than the other. I'll go Sox 3 after the Blue Jays and the Rays. I was going to get to another Patriots story, but I do want to talk about PitchCom. Have you heard of PitchCom? This is the new device that's going to help alleviate sign stealing in baseball and quicken up the game. The Red Sox, though, are not going to use it. We're going to talk about what it is and what the issues are. That's next on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV.
WDEV at 90 is brought to you in part by New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, supporting strong communities by helping local governments since 1986.
Dan and Pat Keene here at Memorial Valley Chevy. With gas prices on the rise, you need to listen to this special announcement. Tell them, Pat, the Car, Truck, and SUV Challenge is back and better than ever. This year, we have challenged our teams to sell and order over 700 vehicles by the end of April, and here's how we plan to get there. With the purchase, lease, or order of any new or pre-owned vehicle at Memorial Valley Chevy, you'll leave with a $500 fuel card today. You heard that right. Even if you have to wait for your ordered new Chevrolet, you get a $500 fuel card today. You can choose between a home heating fuel card or a gas card to be used at the pump. Plus, I want you to know that as the largest Chevy truck dealer in Vermont, we are prioritizing all of our special orders to get you your new Chevy as fast as possible. In the meantime, $500 of your fuel cost is on Memorial Valley Chevy. Now, that's huge. Thanks, Pat. And folks, one more thing we want you to know is that you'll find one of the best selections of new and certified pre-owned Chevys in the state at Memorial Valley Chevy, and all of them include a $500 fuel card. So drive just past Stowe and Morrisville to the beautiful town of Hot Park, Vermont, in the Car, Truck, and SUV Challenge happening right now at Memorial Valley Chevy.
New message.
What up? It's Heather's cousin. You dated her in college, or maybe you were just in the same class. Anyway, I heard you bought a boat, my man. Let's hit the water. Oh, and Heather told me you always liked snacks and stuff, so I could totally bring some chips.
When you get a boat, you also get new friends. Make sure Progressive's one of them, and get coverage today for as little as $100 a year.
Hey, also, I'm a little short on cash, so can you cover the chips? Thanks. I can see why Heather liked you.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Annual premium for basic liability policy not available in all states.
The following message was paid for by Superior Home Buyers. Do you have a home to sell in bad condition? Call Superior Home Buyers. We'll give you a cash offer in as little as 24 hours. You don't have to worry about fixing it up. We'll even clean the property. We buy houses for cash in as little as 7 days. No commissions, no fees, no hassle. Call for a free cash offer now. 800-537-4898. 800-537-4898. Get a fair cash offer fast. Call 800-537-4898.
Plenty of people start something great in their 40s and 50s. Getting your retirement savings on track is no different. Go to aceyourretirement.org, and in 3 minutes, you'll get personalized tips to help boost your retirement savings. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Charlie Papillo. Please join me every other Monday from 1 to 2 for Travels with Charlie, Vermont Politics in Real Life. We'll have discussions with the Vermont newsmakers that affect our lives and open up the phone lines to get your thoughts and opinions on the day's hottest topics. Plus, we'll make sure to have a little fun while doing it. Travels with Charlie, Vermont Politics in Real Life, brought to you by Jolly Convenience Stores, Milne American Travel, and Casella Waste, right here on WDEV.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Brady Farkas Show back at it here on a Thursday on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Jazz with George Thomas comes up in about 10 minutes. Reminder, Buster Olney will join us tomorrow on the show following the Red Sox and Yankees game. He'll be with me at 5:45. I'm going to get to that PitchCom story in a second, but I will give you an updated Masters leaderboard right now as we're coming down to the wire for some of the later tee times here at Augusta. So Sungjae Im out of South Korea is currently the leader at -5. He is finishing on 17 right now and about to putt. Cameron Smith of Australia is tied with Dustin Johnson in second, and Smith is done. Johnson is on 15 right now. Both of them are at -4, so Johnson could certainly go up or down. At -3, Danny Willett Joaquin Neiman and Scotty Scheffler are there. And then -2, Jason Kokrak, the American, Corey Connors out of Canada, and Will Zalatoris. And then a bunch of guys at -1, of which Tiger Woods is in that group. Rory McIlroy is in that group now as well. He's at -1. He's on 13 right now. So looks like most of the players are at least until 13. Don't see anybody lower than that right now. So there you go. Looking for the guys who are in the worst spot right now. Sandy Lyle out of Scotland +10. Vijay Singh +6. Justin Rose +4. Justin Thomas +4. Bryson DeChambeau +4. Fred Couples +3. Jordan Spieth +2. And then everybody else kind of gets back to even. But there you go. Okay, PitchCom. Very, very interesting. When you watch baseball this year, you're going to notice something different about the way that signals are relayed from the pitcher to the catcher. Buster Olney, who's going to be on our show tomorrow from ESPN, he had the breakdown of what the technology is.
And while some teams aren't comfortable with the technology yet, generally speaking, it's been received to rave reviews by a lot of teams. The catcher wears a transmitting device on the forearm of his gloved hand. He pushes buttons which can, pitch type and location, and there's a listening device built into the cap of the pitcher as well as 3 other position players. And so the pitcher can discern without having to look at signs, without, stepping off the mound, without worrying about the guy at second base. He can hear what the pitch call is. And I think there's no doubt by the end of the year, you're going to see all teams using this because paranoia in baseball is paramount.
I think this is fascinating, and I'm absolutely for it for a couple of different reasons. One, it makes it harder to steal signs. That's good, right? We've spent so much time talking about the 2017 Astros that it's harder to crack the code when there's technology. Sure. Could it get hacked? That's possible. However, it's going to be tougher than what the Astros were doing. So it makes it harder to steal signs. That's a good thing. I do think it will speed up games to a degree. And I'm all for speeding up the game if it's done organically. I don't like changing the game. So this is good to me. Right now, what do we see? Guy on second base and the game goes to a crawl. Catcher comes out. Shortstop comes in. We do that multiple times. We change the signs. We check our signs. If this alleviates that, the game gets quicker, the game gets a better pace to it, and the game ultimately gets more action. I am all for that as well. And 3, we've been using headset communication device in football forever. Ever since I've been alive, we've been talking to the quarterback in the headset calling a play. So we're used to this already in sports. Allow yourself to be okay with it in baseball also. Alex Cora, though, says the Red Sox are not going to do this, and here's what he had to say about the whole thing.
I know everybody talks about speeding up the game, but I do believe guys are going to call timeout, when they feel rushed at the plate, and they're going to slow down the game. So it's not as easy as people think, and it's not that I don't agree with it. I saw Vanderbilt doing it in college, and it looks pretty good, but the college game is a lot different than big leagues. In college, you don't shake off the pitching coach. At this level, you will get shake off, and the pitchers are going to throw what they want.
Yeah, Alex Cora mentions shaking off the catcher. That is the only thing, the only negative here that I'm still trying to figure out. If the pitcher shakes off, what exactly happens then? Does the catcher type in another code to get the pitch call in? Does the catcher then go to regular signs and put down his fingers? That could be a confusing or cumbersome process. I do think that a lot of MLB pitchers even do what college pitchers do. They just throw what is called, right? Analytics has gotten so prevalent in the game that I don't think as many pitchers have autonomy to just throw what they want. So I don't think shaking off is as big a deal as maybe Cora does, but it's still a very fascinating and fair question. What happens if the pitcher wants to shake off? How do we get that next sign in? Of course, Cora's right that there will be guys who step off as well, or guys who step out and try to keep the game slowed down to their pace. But by and large, I think this is a good thing. And I hope the Red Sox will give it a chance as we go through later in the season, because harder to steal signs, speed up the game. We've already been doing this in football. That is all a good thing. I'm for this. And kudos to the pitchers and the catchers who are open to it, as well as the managers and pitching coaches. That is going to do it for us, everybody. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Go find the Brady Farkas Show podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. It'll be up shortly after the show is over. Reminder, tomorrow we're on for a full 90 minutes following the opener. Red Sox, Yankees from the stadium. Nathan Eovaldi, Garrett Cole will come armed with our thoughts. You come armed with yours. Go Sox, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow on WDEV AM and FM.
Hi, everyone. This is Jess Langlois.
And Chief